Welcome back to After Hours, guys, with me, Jimmy Thistle. Today, I'm absolutely blown away. I love all of my guests, but, I've been following Laura for some time now. Laura's just, I would use the word pioneer in, the kind of sober community, the online community. And, she's just, nearly 11 years sober. Well, she probably is 11 years sober now. But yeah, it's just, 2015 when she got sober, and she just started writing blog posts and things like that. And then, Laura's the author of the best-selling memoir, We Are the Luckiest, and Push Off From Here. Her work explores an intersection of addiction, recovery, emotional sobriety, and the complexities of relationships. She's written for the New York Times and has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the Guardian, the Atlantic, the Today Show, and more. So, she's just, as I say, she's just a kind of absolute legend in the sober community. So I just, it was an absolute pleasure to have her on the podcast. Laura grew up in Colorado, and she moved to Boston when she was 21 for college. But her dad got sober at 15, so she had some experience with people in sobriety and things like that. Her first drink, not a huge kind of memory of a groundbreaking kind of experience, but she went from kind of normal drinking to something significant quite quickly. Her college years were kind of, she said she kind of felt like she missed out on a lot of things because of her drinking. She missed out on a lot of the experiences of college. Her parents, her mum owned a kind of restaurant, and we spoke about the kind of hospitality culture just being mad. And seeing that from an early age for her, she was openly seeing people using drugs, and it just kind of, I suppose, made her see things in a different light. We also have a good chat about alcohol and recovery and parenting teens. As I said in many podcasts, I'm a step parent to 3 kids, 2 of which are teenagers. So we just kind of were talking about how to juggle that and whether to, say, no, you will not drink, because of course we're not going to do that. But it was just a really interesting chat. And so then, Laura talks about that one significant traumatic experience involving her daughter that, kind of led her down the path of sobriety. So, as always, guys, listen for the similarities. Laura's got an amazing way about her, an amazing storyteller, obviously being author to 2 amazing books. I've read the first one, We Are the Luckiest, and I'm just about to start the second one. So, you'll find those in the show notes as well. But as I say, listen for the similarities, guys, and enjoy the episode. Cheers. See you at the end. Laura, hey, welcome to After Hours. How are you doing today?
Hi, great.
Good. I'm awesome. Yeah, we've just been talking off air, and I'm kind of rained off today, but it's nice to be in the house and just getting a bit of work done, a bit of admin, a bit of editing. So yeah, it's good. Who's your little friend there? What's her name? Piper.
Piper. I have 2 kitties. She's the girl kitty.
Ah, hello, Piper. Mine's trying to get in the door. She's playing with like the thing that's hanging up under the kind of the bottom, the crack of the door. So yeah, so I should let her in a bit. Yeah, absolutely. But she'll just be climbing all over. So yeah. So where
mine is.
Well, it's cool. It's cool. This is what I do, because the people that are just listening in audio, they'll be like, "What? I want to see the kitty." So I'm gonna have to go watch on YouTube, guys. So yeah, Laura, tell the listeners where you're at. Where are you?
I'm in Boston, north of Boston. I'm in a little seaside town on the North Shore.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So tell us, did you grow up in where you're at? Tell us about your childhood, where you grew up, and when you had your first drink, really.
Sure. I grew up in Colorado, so I don't know if your listeners are mostly there where you are, or if they're here, if I'm saying any geography that doesn't make sense.
I
Colorado's
would
in the
like to think
middle of the country.
I would like to think I've broken America, but I think the majority of them are still kind of UK based. I've got a lot of people in New Zealand, but yeah, I think I'm trying to crack into America like the
Yeah,
Beatles
maybe we
did,
can
you
help
know.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. That's it. Yeah, yeah. So sorry, yeah, carry on.
I grew up in Colorado, which is in the west Midwest of
Hmm.
it's not considered Midwest, actually. That's offensive to Colorado, but it's in the western side of the US. I grew up there, lived there till I went to college, after college actually, and moved to Boston when I was 21 years old
Right.
on a whim with a friend, just for something new. And I had my first drink. I wasn't one of those people who had, I don't actually know my first drink.
Hmm.
A few times sort of bleed together. I wasn't one of those people that had my first drink and everything made sense. I was kind of afraid of it a little. My dad was a big drinker, got sober when I was 15. And so I had I had some, and I didn't really necessarily want to feel out of control. So I didn't love it
Hmm.
initially. I sort of could have taken it or leave it. I wanted what came with drinking, which was the fun and the being in and going to
Hmm.
parties and all of that. But that didn't
Acceptance, I
come till later.
suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's difficult because I think a lot of people, and I think, and I might be wrong, but it seemed to be what, like, I grew up in the 90s and it was very easy to get hold of booze, you know, in that time. I'm sure you can if you really try nowadays. I'm sure people still do, but I don't know. Over here, it's 18 is the legal age. Over there, it's 21. So
Right.
I don't know if that makes it more difficult if they come down on you harder. But in the 90s, it was just the kind of like, oh, they're just having a little drink. It's just fun and games. It's not, nobody really knew the kind of dangers of it. So, and I
Yeah.
think that whole thing with acceptance and maybe being popular or just fitting in with a group of people, you know, I think that's what it kind of comes from.
Yeah. No, we didn't have any sense of the danger of it. It was just
No.
a thing everyone did. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't think twice about it. I assumed that when I became an adult, or as I got older, definitely, when I went to college, that I would just be drinking all the time. And that's what people did. And that's how you had
Yeah.
fun. And that's how you celebrated. And that's how you know, punctuated the end of a work day. And
Yeah.
it just
Good
was
day, bad day, whatever. It's like,
whatever.
yeah. So when do you think like drinking, not like when it became a problem, but when it kind of started being a social thing or social crutch, if you want to call it that, was that college or? Yeah.
It went quickly from nothing big for me to something important. By
Yeah.
the end of high school, I remember a very specific moment. I was graduating. I had graduated. I was about to go to college. It
Hmm.
was like the summer in between. And my family had a graduation party for me at a restaurant that we owned. So we owned a restaurant, which was a big,
Nice.
drinking culture. And
Yeah.
I sort of learned how to drink differently there, and also saw drugs for the first time, like hard drugs.
Hmm.
Um, and
At the restaurant.
yeah, because the
Yeah.
chefs would
Yeah.
just
Chefs.
do all the drugs. And
Chefs are a different breed. I mean, I've worked in hospitality like my whole of my 20s and things like that, managers and whatnot. And the chefs, they're just a different breed because they're in there in their hot, sweaty kitchen and they just once they've done that shift, it's like now we're out. And then I guess maybe they sweat it all out during the shift and then they're like right back
I
on
don't
it.
know.
I've partied with guys and I have felt like I was going to die and they've gone in a kitchen and done like a 12-hour shift of just cooking
Totally.
burgers and
No,
fries
it's
and
just part of
whatever.
how they live. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they
Because it's a tough job.
it's a tough job. It attracts intense people.
Yeah,
It just does. And restaurant culture, it's the nocturnal life.
yeah. It's
You
antisocial, so you socialize with the people that you're clubbed together with, I
yeah, and
think, you
you
know?
bond over this
Yeah,
intensity, and
yeah.
then you just sort of blow off the steam afterwards, and another layer of bonding. And it's an interesting thing to be exposed to. I mean, those were my first jobs, restaurants, and then my family owned one. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked in them over the year, throughout college and stuff. So that's also part of just what normalized a certain level of drinking for me. But
Mm-hmm.
I remember this point where I was going through a lot, but by the end of of high school, I had gone through a lot already,
Mm.
with my family, with my body, with just I had accumulated a lot of traumas and had
Mm-hmm.
no knowledge of that really. I had no tools to deal with any of that. Again, we were in the 90s, like
Yeah.
we were feral. No one talked about anything. Um, there were really good things about growing up at that time, but there were really rough things too. And I just I was like a rubber band that was just like so tight. Like
Yeah.
all that energy and tension needed a place to go. And I realized alcohol, like when I drank, and I remember specifically at this party, I had 2 or 3, like I could pour myself drinks at the bar at that point on my own. No one cared. And I had 2 Bacardi Limon and Diet Cokes, like really strong ones. And I
Yeah.
remember like getting to the bottom of the second, and I felt like if I can just stay this way, the way I feel right now, everything's going to be fine. I've got it.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a superpower.
Yeah.
And
Keys to the kingdom, like just this
totally. And
level,
yeah, and
no
like
more, no less.
if
Yeah.
I just stay here, everything's possible. I'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like your cape, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
And just to go back, you said your dad got sober when you were 15. So he continued working in the restaurant and
He
was kind of
wasn't. No,
okay
my
with that?
parents are divorced, so it was my mom's side
Right, right,
that was
right.
in the
Okay.
restaurant. My dad
Yeah.
has a whole other, work life, and
Mm-hmm.
strangely, he started drinking again after about 10 years, and jury's out. I mean, he's fine. Like
Okay.
I wouldn't it's one yet another way that my dad's sort of an anomaly, like this inexplicable a creature. But that fucked me up when I went to
Yeah.
get sober, because I was like, but you like found a way,
Like I was going to say, did he ever not like be judgmental, but if you're starting to drink maybe at like 16, 17, 18 and he's already sober at this point, did he ever give you like,
Oh yeah.
you shouldn't be doing that?
Oh
And
my
this is,
God. He
yeah,
was
yeah,
because he had only been sober for a few years at that point, and he was deep into AA and had that very intense
yeah.
newish sobriety sort of dogmatic view, right?
My way or the highway type thing.
Yeah, and he's kind of like that anyway. So he was not amused that I was participating.
Drinking. Yeah. But then, like, I've got three stepkids, and they're all like, the oldest 2 are like 13 and 15, and they're getting to that age where it's like it's going to happen at some point where they're at a party and there'll be beers and all of that stuff, and it's like, how do I manage that and kind of navigate it without being too like, you should never drink? Do you know what I mean? Because I've got strong kind of views on it, but I don't want to be like saying, no, you can't do that, because then they're going to miss out on the socializing aspect of it. And it's like, looking back, I don't have any regrets apart from maybe emotional turmoil and things that I did, but the actual drinking and partying side of it, up until the last couple of years, like I did have a good time. Let's be honest. It wasn't all bad,
Totally. I have a 17-year-old, so I've got a few years on you on that. And
Yeah.
I will say I'm sort of amazed I was terrified of the age of my daughter coming to the age where drinking would be around. Like I would have nightmares about her drinking. It was like the worst thing I could imagine, right? The terror in my body about it. And I am shocked at my sort of, I don't want to say comfort. I'm not I'm not comfortable with her in alcohol, but just like every other part of parenting, you're thrust into a phase,
Mm-hmm.
and a phase you can't imagine dealing with prior to that. Couldn't imagine her being
Yeah.
on the road, couldn't imagine her driving, couldn't imagine her having a boyfriend, couldn't imagine, all of these things. But they do, because they have their own lives and you want them
Yeah.
to. And I knew for me, it was never going to work for her to be told you can never. I didn't want to demonize alcohol. She has had
No.
a long enough history with me as a sober mom, and I've been extremely open. And I got sober when she was 5. So she's seen me for 12 years be a
Mm-hmm.
sober, safe
Present.
woman with a whole life.
Yeah.
And I think I hope that eventually just means more than anything I could tell her.
Yeah, because I think there's that whole, and it's a fine line. Like, do you let them drink in the house because you don't want them to be going out and like getting into sticky situations, or
Right.
then there's the opposite side where you're just like, you should not drink. They're going to do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? They're kids. They've got to, like, they don't know that they don't think we're talking from wisdom when we're telling them stuff. They just think
Right.
we're doing it to spoil the fun. So they're going to
Right.
do it anyway, but it's
Yeah.
like, where do
I
you
don't
kind of,
have all the answers. The only thing I've
yeah,
told her is you will never get in trouble if you call me.
yeah,
It
yeah,
will never get in trouble for if you are drinking, if you are drunk, if you are in really bad shape. You're never going to get in trouble if you call me. You will
yeah,
get in a world of trouble if you are driving with someone who's been
yeah,
drinking, or if you drive and have been drinking. That's like game over
yeah.
to me. But you're not going to get in trouble if you call me. And she's really open with me. Like, we've talked about it already. And I think she was relieved to have those conversations. Like, I know that she's tried it. I know that when she
Hmm.
goes to parties, there's alcohol there. I know that her friends drink. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't have any answers. It's just one of those things where you do the thing that makes the most sense in the moment. And
Of course, and sometimes it's
that's
wrong, sometimes it's bang on and it's right. But like going back to saying, I like I've told the oldest one. Well, I've told both of them, the older ones, like if you're out, even if there's no drink involved, but you're in a situation where you're not comfortable and you want away, like I will never be drinking. So no matter what time of day it is, phone me and I will. If I'm asleep, I'm going to get up and I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to come and get you. Like that's it.
totally.
End
And we
of.
don't have to
Phone
talk
me.
about it. I'll just
Yeah,
pick you
yeah.
up. Yeah.
I'll pick you up. We can talk if you want to talk, but if you don't, we get you home and we get you safe, and that's it. End
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
it.
think that's the best thing you can do. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no great answers. All I know is my daughter is not doing the things that I was fucking doing
Well, I
at
think they're different
17,
now.
and that is a good thing.
I think they're different now, Laura. I'm sure there are people out there that are
They're
getting
different.
completely smashed and doing drugs and all that, but I think the majority of them, they're a bit more conscious. They're conscious that people have phones, so they don't want to do stupid things and get that like passed around WhatsApp or
Yeah.
whatever the kids are using, TikTok, whatever. I'm an old man, but it's like we don't. They're so conscious that if they get into an absolute state, that's going to be around the internet, and they don't want that. So
Yeah. And they're more health conscious. They're more conscious of
yeah,
mental health.
yeah,
They have conversations in the culture about drinking that were never in the culture about drinking when we
yeah,
were kids. Um, they're just it's different. And it's also true. I mean, Gen Z drinks less than any prior
yeah.
generation. That's known. So
It's
that's
absolute fact.
hopeful.
And I think it's because they have like a library on on the palm of their hand. They can Google it. Is alcohol bad for me? And you do that, and it's going to come up with a shitload of things that says, yeah, alcohol's. There is no safe level of drinking alcohol. So
Yeah.
they'll be like, huh, okay, so I don't smoke, and drinking's nearly as bad for me, if not worse. If I do that longevity. So
Yeah.
anyway, Laura, so how was your kind of college years?
College was um I was one thing about my story is I had very disordered eating, and
Mm,
that like interplayed with drinking a lot. And so my college years were spent in a lot of pain because I had like gained a bunch of weight, and all I was focused on was trying to like change my body. But I also my problems with alcohol, or my sort of reliance on alcohol, started in earnest then, because it was the only way I could escape the shame
Yeah.
that I was feeling all the time. And if I wanted to have any social life, I had to drink. There was no option not to drink. And I liked it. And I had a lot of fun doing it. So it was this constant, like, impossible balancing act.
Mm-hmm.
I started to black out a lot in college.
Mm-hmm.
I started to notice that I drank differently than others. Like, in the sense that I always wanted to get really drunk. I never wanted to just have a couple.
Yeah.
And I could never really control it once I started. And I noticed that I felt more ashamed the next day. Like, I noticed other people could just like laugh it off, or at least it seemed like they could.
Mm-hmm.
I was just inner turmoil. Like, what did I do? What did I say? Am I okay? Who's mad at me? That stuff started in college. And
Yeah.
it's so sad. It's so sad because I ruined a lot of time, but I wasn't very happy.
Yeah,
Period.
it sounds like you've got like kind of mental health issues and kind of an eating issue, and you're using the alcohol to have fun and go out, but you're also forgetting your problems with it. So it's already
Yeah,
become a tool at that point.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally.
And did you know that? Like, I know it's looking back with hindsight, it's like great, but at the time, did you know that you were kind of self-medicating, I suppose, for an easier time?
God,
It's hard
it's
to know,
so
isn't
hard
it?
to answer those questions because it's like you do and you don't.
Yeah,
I knew on some level, but I didn't really know.
yeah. And I guess it's like, because you're saying it's a superpower, so it's like, well, I know that I can do this to sort that problem out and to let me escape a little bit from the issues that I'm dealing with in my head. But I guess you didn't know the dangers. Like, I didn't know the dangers until I quit. So I was like, well, what harm am I doing? Like, I smoked and I knew that was bad for me. And I was like, but I'll give up before, it kind of kills me or whatever. But like with alcohol, I didn't think there was an issue. I thought maybe I'll get cirrhosis when I'm in my 60s or 70s, but I didn't quite know I didn't know anything of the dangers at that point. So I was like, well, I'm a bit of a lush. I drink a lot, but I know how to party. And actually, I'm holding down my job. I've got friends, I have girlfriends or whatever, but I'm okay, So I didn't know how bad it was.
That's I think you're pointing to something that's true for me too, where I didn't, even though I knew maybe I drank differently and I worried about it sometimes, I never really thought I had a problem with drinking.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like I'm going to turn into an alcoholic. Like that was nowhere in my conscience, like that was a possibility at all.
And I guess because of the
It was like,
stigma of
I
that
will
word.
control it when I feel like it. I can, and I still had a full life. That was true for me always. Even at the end, I had a really good job and I was always, very functional.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's good and bad. I was a really good actor.
Yeah. Because when I like and I hate that word functional, because I was to a point, and then I wasn't. But like the word functional is like you might be just functioning like on the bare bones of it, but like there's so much more potential that you're missing out on because you're literally just joining the dots, but you're not painting a picture,
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that is the great epiphany of sobriety for me.
Mm-hmm,
is
mm-hmm.
how much potential I always say, you kind of know what you're going to get back if you stop drinking, or what damage you're not going to be causing, at least. Like, okay, I'm going to feel better for sure. I'm going to not be hungover every day. And that comes with a whole host of things that are good. I'm going to sleep better. I'm not going to wake up regretting things I said or did. I'm going to probably function or perform better at work. My relationships will be less messy. Like, all those things.
Mm-hmm,
those are
mm-hmm.
knowns. But there's a whole host of things that you can't even imagine are possible for you when you quit drinking. Even people who don't drink that much, that's true for, because there's this hidden layer that you never access if you're consistently numbing yourself.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. And it's like, even if you're just having a few, and I never saw the point, like, you know, you're still feeling a little bit rubbish the next day, and you're like, well, you know, I'll just, and it's not just that, it's like, I was going to go and meet that friend for lunch, but you know what, I'm just going to stay at home and I'm going to have a duvet day or whatever, you know, and that you're missing out on parts of life as well, just because you had a few drinks the night before. And I know that's not the case with with a lot of people. If they just have a few, that's fine. They're a different breed. But for me, like, two drinks, what's the point? You know, because I didn't drink for the flavor or the taste. You know, I think I pretended, like, sometimes, oh, I'm only going to have that gin, or I'm only going to have that whiskey because it's the good stuff. I was kidding myself. You know, I was drinking to get blitzed. So it was kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no, we like to pretend that we care about the vintage and the quality of our drinks, but I didn't really give a shit.
No, exactly. The vintage and the quality of a poison. It's just this whole marketing ploy. And I don't know. I saw a post the other day, and they were breaking this like, I don't know, it was like 16-year-old whiskey Scotch bottle, and it was inside this amazing case that you had to crack with a hammer to get into it, and then there was all these cameras around, and then they opened it, and I was like, it's freaking poison. Like, what are you guys playing
What
at?
is happening right now?
Yeah, what is happening? So how was, did you graduate and then get a job in your field? What was your field? What did you study at college?
I studied business marketing, and
Cool.
I moved to Boston from Colorado right after school. I did get a job in my field.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, it makes it sound very intentional, but it was sort of accidental. And, you know, I was 21, I was a baby, and I moved out here without a job and found an internship, and they hired me. And then I was always really good at work. I was, I always got promotions, and I ended up going more into marketing and advertising, like on the agency side. I went to business school. I got married. I had my daughter. And it was really around, like, the time that I got married, and especially when I had my daughter, that my drinking changed significantly.
Right.
So that was through my 20s. I got married when I was 29, and had my daughter when I was 31. So I had gone through my 20s. My 20s were littered with problematic drinking, but not enough. No one said anything to me, really. You know, my friend, I became known as the friend who people sort of had to babysit a lot, but not
because you were in a blackout, maybe, or
because I was in a blackout, and I would I would lose shit, and I would, you know, I was constantly just sort of messy, but I wasn't, I didn't stand out enough. It wasn't like my friends were saying, I'm not drinking with her, I'm not going out with her, it's too much. It was just like, oh yeah, Laura's
no DUIs or anything like that.
Not yet. So my 20s were, you know, and I met my ex-husband, we got married, we drank together, and there were periods of time where I could take it or leave it. In a way, I could drink a couple glasses of wine and leave a bottle on the counter till it went sour, and it wouldn't matter. There were plenty of periods like that. And I also, you know, I ran marathons, and I'm like a very physically active person. So I've always exercised. I've always done a lot of things. And so it wasn't, there were a lot of ways to point to my life and say, like, I'm great. I'm doing great.
I'm taking the boxes. I'm ticking the boxes. Yeah.
I'm taking the boxes. And
I ran marathons and then finished it, and then would go and get blitzed. And it's like, but I've just ran 26.2 miles. So there's no problem here, you know, like, have you done 100%. That? Anything?
Yeah. Can you get up and run 13 miles?
Exactly. So I'm winning.
Right. Yeah. And when I had my daughter, things really changed. I had a really rough postpartum sort of depression and anxiety. I could barely eat. the drinking, it felt like the drinking stopped working. Like alcohol hit my body differently. And I had to start to drink more, but drinking more was dangerous at that point because I was responsible for a
Sure.
baby, and my marriage was not doing well. And
sorry, Laura, did you stop through the pregnancy?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
That was the first time I noticed, like, holy shit,
I'm getting
I
cravings.
rely on this I rely not just on it, but the idea of it, that I can drink as a way to take the edge off. If I know when it's coming, I know that there's like a release valve, at least in the future. And not having that for 9 months was really, really painful and hard.
Yeah. It's a long time. And, you know, I speak to a lot of women in the podcast, but they all, I think, like 90% of them stopped for the pregnancy and then, you know, breastfeeding and then counting down the days until they could start again. But it's weird how how, you know, women can stop for the 9 months or however long afterwards, but then it's because it's going to harm the baby, but then suddenly you put it back in yourself to harm yourself.
Well, none of this makes sense, right? This isn't like, you're not.
Why is it going to harm a child and not harm a person? Like, what?
Right. I mean, for me, and plenty of women do drink through their pregnancies, so no shame to any of that, because I get it. For me, it was, I physically felt ill. I couldn't, alcohol made me wretch. So I don't know what the case would have been if that would. And I also had people watching me. Like, I had enough social pressure and sort of consciousness in myself to not do it, but I wanted to, and it was painful not to. And then I didn't, you know, I breastfed for 3 months. That was it. And I was counting down the days, and so was everyone else I knew. Every woman that had been pregnant was like, can't wait to be able to drink again. I mean,
party with you.
Yeah, exactly. So it just changed. It changed after that. And hangovers are very different when you are a parent. And I started to get really scared of myself. And the wheels came off very quickly. So my husband and I separated when my daughter was 3. I got a DUI about a year later. And then, so that was in 2013. I got the DUI in May of 2013. And then in July, I had what I would consider my bottom. It wasn't the end of my drinking, but it started me on the path of sobriety. And I went to a wedding with my daughter. I write about this in my first book. And I've talked about it a lot. So if I just say it as though it's not a big deal, it's only because I've talked about it so much that I don't have shame around it anymore. It's just something that happened.
I get that. Yeah.
I left her alone, my 4-year-old daughter, in a hotel room alone overnight because I was blacked out. And my mom, she found my mother, who was also staying at the hotel. It was my brother's wedding, and found my brother. And, you know, I woke up to texts and calls from my family saying, "Where the hell are you?"
Yeah.
You know, my daughter is with them. And it was the most horrific day of my life. Traumatizing and awful. And I was also but I was alarmed at the fact that this had happened to my daughter, the person I love most in the world, and I never thought I would ever do anything to harm her. And I also was really pissed that I was caught.
Yeah. Like double-edged sword, like I'm so gutted, but also you found out. Like, I could have got back and you guys would have never known, and she'd have been okay, hopefully. You know what I mean? Like,
and now you're watching me.
You're pissed. And now I've got this like 100 eyes on me to say, right, the drinking is. And had anyone said, obviously you've had the DUI, so people were watching you already, but now it's like tenfold.
Yeah, it was just different. It was still, there were only a couple people that had really, you had to be really close to me to really notice how bad it was. My best friend had said something to me. My ex-husband certainly said something to me. But everyone else, you know, people kind of they want to protect their own drinking too. And so they're not going to call you out on yours.
Yeah.
And also I was drinking alone a lot at that point. I was drinking at home. I would
Mm-hmm.
go out and behave enough, and then I would come home and drink and take Ambien and black out. And it was just, it was, it was a lot of private sort of drinking at that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was pissed that I was caught. I was pissed that people were watching me now. And that scared me. That and the fact of what happened scared me enough that I went to my first AA meeting, and a couple weeks later, and that started me on the path to sobriety.
Yeah.
It took me a year plus to finally have my last day one, but I learned a lot in that year, and I spent a lot of that year sober. Actually,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't. I wasn't ready. It was so fucking hard.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not ready, like I wasn't for a long time, like the relapses, like I would do like maybe a week or 3 weeks or a month and then go back. But every time I went back, it just got more and more a
So
grip on
dark.
me, and then you're like, I can't do this. Do you know what I mean? It was like each time I was like, what is the point? I might as well just give up and just drink because
Yeah.
it's too hard, you know?
Yeah, no, there was no relief left in it. I knew too much.
Yeah.
And everyone all the people that I cared about most, my mom, my dad, my brother, my friends knew what had happened at the wedding. Like no one was going to drink freely with me anymore. And so I had been sort of canceled from
Yeah.
that part of life.
But it's
And
like we're forced to take it underground. And when I say underground, I mean like, hiding it maybe in the house, or if you're in the house on your own with your daughter, then you can drink freely. For me, it was like having a bottle of wine with my ex-partner where we'd both be having a couple of glasses. She wouldn't drink most of it, but I think she'd drink some of it so that I wouldn't drink the whole lot. But I had a bottle of vodka in the bathroom hidden. So I was just going and topping up with that. So it was like,
right.
even though I was drinking with her, I was still solo drinking, because she wasn't,
Totally.
you know.
Yes, I relate to that completely. No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
There wasn't another, I had very close tabs on who knew that I was supposed to be drinking, not
Yeah.
drinking, who didn't. I purposely didn't tell certain people, like people I worked with, and
Mhm, mhm.
those mental gymnastics are exhausting.
Yeah.
This constant like compartmentalization of your reality and your identity
Mhm.
is part of what made me so tired. And I eventually was like, I just want one fucking version of me in the world. I can't do this anymore. I just want one version,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
however many there are.
And all this, the time you were going, was it AA that you were going to the meetings, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you
So
were
I
doing that
started in
on and
AA. I
off?
went to meetings. I didn't, I loved parts of it, really didn't like other parts of it, but
Mhm.
it saved my life. There were a lot of really beautiful people there in Boston.
Yeah.
And it was my first community, and I got
Mhm.
sober in AA meetings.
And it's a tribe, isn't it? I mean, you guys probably a bit different from, I mean, I'm on the Isle of Man and we've got our meeting here. And we're talking maybe 20 people at the tops. Like you're probably looking at meetings of like 50, hundreds people in
Sometimes,
there.
yeah. I mean, the small
Yeah.
town that I live in now,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
I actually got sober finally, the meetings are tiny and everyone
Yeah.
knows each other. And that's really where I got sober.
Yeah. And I think that's the best part, when you know everyone in that room and you see the newcomer come in and it's like, oh, someone's getting their kind of weak chip or their newcomer chip. And you're just praying that they're going to come back week on week. You've done your bit, you've got your 3 months, your 6 months, your year, and you're feeding off of the new people coming in, if that makes sense. It's almost like you're
Totally.
taking their energy and giving it back. And I just love that as well. Like I don't go to the meetings anymore. I did it militantly for the first year or two, I think. But after a while, I was like, I need to move on to like the next phase, and I know they're there if I need them. But I was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna start moving on to different
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
how
Same.
how was that first couple of months, 3 months for you then?
I mean,
I mean,
I'm
did you
laughing
have a
because it
rock
was
bottom moment, or
fucking
was it just,
terrible. No,
yeah?
I didn't. I was
The rock bottom
just,
moment was probably leaving your daughter in the hotel room. Let's be
it
honest.
was.
That's
And
like,
there were
yeah,
many indignities after that, but they were really just, I was just drinking alone. I was wrecked. I was sad. I was in a lot of pain, grief. I didn't want to give up everything I thought that alcohol was giving me and that it had given me for a long time.
Yeah.
And so the thing that happened for me though was I started writing about what was going on with me. And I started publishing my writing, and I started a podcast with a friend, Holly Whitaker, who was getting sober at the same time. And that podcast got really big. It was called Home. It's still out there, and there weren't many podcasts out there at the time. And
So what year was this? Sorry, this is
2015.
Wow. So yeah, you've got 11 years now.
11 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well done. Amazing.
So when Holly and I started the podcast when I was about 5 months sober.
Yeah.
So I really I credit writing and talking. I had so many things to say about this experience. About addiction, about alcohol culture, about women and drinking, about motherhood and drinking, about AA and not AA. And I just, for whatever reason, by luck or fate or something, I had a lot to say, and so did she. Yeah. And I just started talking, and I had always wanted to be a writer. I dreamt of it. And I began to chase that, kind of the way I was chasing drinking. I ended up switching careers, and 2 years into sobriety, left my corporate career to take a shot at what I'm doing now. And I've published 2 books, and it's been it really we talked earlier about this sort of potential that's there. I call it the bigger yes. There's all kinds of no's. We have to, there's the no to alcohol, and then there's all the other no's that you have to throw out in order to stop something. But eventually I had to run towards something. It wasn't going to work otherwise. And I wanted to write.
Yeah.
And I chased that, and I chased it with everything I had. So you asked how the first months were. I mean, in part they were terrible. I never had a pink cloud. I never had that great, this is awesome feeling that a lot of people had. I had it later, but I never experienced that. I was pissed. I was really mad and sad. I thought that no one would ever love me again. I thought that I would be boring. I thought so many things, but I also at the same time felt something really significant growing in me and happening. And that was this becoming of being a writer, and all of the other seeds of potential that were opening. I would glimpse what it was like to be a safe mom and to show up for my daughter in moments where I would have otherwise been passed out or just not able to be present with her. Yeah. I felt like I got my brain back. And so work was I was just killing it at work, and not having, I didn't all the other fancy stuff aside, or big stuff aside, just waking up without creating more destruction was a fucking revelation. I get to wake up and not have to apologize or feel the gnawing, clawing anxiety of what happened the night before. That's the stuff that carried me through. Yeah. Those first months.
And do you think there was anything that kind of scared you about getting sober? I mean, other than, not being able to have a drink, Did
it scare me?
I mean, maybe scared's quite a...
Well, I definitely, my first 2 thoughts when I knew I was going to have to stop. I knew that. One was, what if I'm boring?
Yeah.
And two, who's going to love me? Like, no one's going to love me anymore. I was single at the time. I was separated or divorced from my husband, and I just thought, no one's going to want me. So yeah, I was afraid of those things.
Yeah. Like, how are you going to socialize and meet people and, all of those things?
No one's going to
'Cause that's what
want
we do.
me.
Yeah.
Like,
Because I guess there wasn't the same community maybe that there is now online of,
no.
sober people. Is like, even in the 5 years that I've been sober, it's grown massively. And now
Oh
it's
my
just
God,
like,
there was
for
nothing.
you. Yeah.
Nothing.
You're like one of the pioneers with your podcast, which is a great podcast, I might add. I have listened to a number of episodes and it's fantastic. But it was like, you guys were doing it when podcasts were in their infancy, Now there's like, 10 a penny.
It's great, which is awesome. I'm so glad that there's so many. There's sober influencers now. Like, there was no such thing.
Yeah, I don't think even influencers was a
no. Influencers were not a thing. Instagram was still pretty nascent.
It was just people sharing photos for friends. It wasn't like a business.
Quotes maybe, and I would share quotes and write little miniature sort of blog posts. Like Instagram was where I first started to process everything that was going on with me and getting sober. And it was so different. There weren't videos. It was like, thank God, because I can't do Instagram like it is now.
I mean, have you still got the same account as like you did back then? So if you go way
it was
back,
named something else then. It was named I Fly at Night. That was my blog name. But I still have the same one. Yeah.
Because that's what I love about it. And it's like, I mean, I've got another Instagram account, which I don't really use, but that was just my personal one. It's just full of crap. But like this one, I set it up, I think 13 days after getting sober. And I was like, I'm just going to do this for myself to hold me accountable and kind of document my journey. And I'm so glad I've done that. Every now and then I download it all from Instagram. So, in case it just gets hacked or lost or whatever, because it's like, I don't want to lose all that stuff.
It's a record of your experience.
Absolutely. And I think, as the community's grown, with pioneers like yourself, it's just amazing for the newbies coming through to just go #sober and then see what comes up. Because like, AA for you, NA and a bit of AA for me, smart meetings. But some people, a majority of younger people as well, don't want to go to those meetings. They want to do things on their own in their house. And not be as maybe outspoken about it. So they want to have like a private account. But as long as they're getting content that's, giving them affirmations and fulfilling them and listening to podcasts. Like, I love the fact that there's thousands of podcasts, because not everyone is suitable for everyone, So they'll be like, oh, I found this one and this one works for me. I don't like that one because it's not on my vibe or values or whatever. So yeah, it's great that there's so many of them. Yeah.
No, it's wonderful. I marvel at the change that can happen in 11 years. It's shocking.
And who knows what it's going to be like in the next 11 years,
I know.
It's insane.
I know.
Who were you without alcohol? And did you start to embrace that person and like that person? Like, how long did that process take? Because you said you didn't really get the pink cloud at the beginning. And was it, a little while? Like, for me, I did get the pink cloud, and I'm not trying to say, oh, look at me, but I know I really embraced it.
You didn't control that. I don't think you have control
it's just
over
one of those things.
It's physiology.
Yeah, exactly. So did you like who you were becoming without the drink? And
I did. Yes. I did, for the most part. I mean, that's a sort of ever evolving identity.
Of course.
Still.
Yeah.
I found like the things that came back right away that I loved were, I laughed a lot. Like I think I have a pretty good sense of humor, and I've always loved to laugh, but man, I laughed harder and more often when I got sober. I was sharper, certainly. I had sort of a manic, that newly sober energy is like, woof, it is intense. And I had that. I kind of am like that anyway. I have kind of big energy, but I had like, that's what helped me create so much in that time. So I liked that. It was a lot to manage, but I liked it for the most part, I guess. I loved that I was someone who could be counted on more than anything. I liked that was the person I was becoming. The
Mm-hmm.
person my daughter was safe with, the person that if I said I was going to do something, I was going to do it for the most part. I could keep my word. I could trust myself to schedule something at 9 in the morning and show up. I mean, everything revolved around alcohol before. It's like, am I going to be hungover? Am I going to want to be drinking? Am I going to, I mean, it
Where
could,
are we going to go? What are we eating? And if we're eating, where can we? Are we going to a restaurant? Are we going to a cafe or a bar where I can eat and drink? Yeah, yeah. It's
right.
all consuming.
So it managed I mean, the way I looked at it is the sort of question that I a lot of people ask, is it bad enough? Is the drinking bad enough that I have to change? And like that's an okay question, but there's a better question, which is like, is this good enough for me to stay the same? And that could apply to almost anything in your life. But then the real question underneath it all is like, am I free? Am I
Hmm.
free with this thing in my life? And I was not free with alcohol. It controlled everything about how I lived. So I started to feel more freedom about
Yeah,
everything. And then, the things that I didn't like very much that took longer were like, I had no social battery for a while. I was very
yeah,
uncomfortable in my skin. I was tired. I had burned like the candle at both ends for so long that my body and my brain needed I felt like that for about 5-7 years. I
yeah,
just had no I was also raising a kid and trying to build a career. There was a lot going on, but I kind of thought, "Oh, I'm just a total introvert." And I didn't know it. But I think it was just a major recalibration. Like I've noticed in the past couple of years that I am way more social than I
hmm
was before.
hmm
So, we change, we ebb and flow and go through seasons. I think I also yeah, I mean, I can say for the most part, I really deeply appreciate who I am now.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I have parts of my life where I still struggle. Relationships, like romantic relationships, are still hard for me. I don't always love how I show up in that space, mostly how I show up for myself. It's not so much what I do to another person, but it's like holding on to myself in those cases is very hard.
Hmm.
Um, there are still ever evolving things that we work on, but I can't even recognize the person that I am now.
Yeah, and I think for me, essentially, and I'm 5.5 years, so social interaction, like I'm great when it's a smallish group of people, and if
Totally.
there's no alcohol, like I'm okay with people drinking around me, that's not a problem, but only in the early stages. Do you know what I mean? Once it gets a little bit later and they get a little bit not making much sense and things like that. Like I love the deep and meaningful conversations that I can have with people at the beginning of the night, because
Mhm.
I never had
Yes.
that when I was drinking. It was always just like, who's coming out with the next gag? And I'm not really listening to you. I'm waiting till you shut up before I can tell you my anecdote from the week that's probably about someone's misfortune. Do you know what I mean? Horrible kind of stuff. But it's like now I'm like, yeah, if it's a small group of people, I'm like, yeah, this is perfect. I love it. I love socializing. But when it comes to big parties and things where there's lots of booze, I'm like, I'm not going to go, or if I do go, I'm only going to go for like a couple hours just to show my face, and then I'm done with that.
Yeah.
And my wife doesn't really drink a lot, and I think she struggles with that with me because she's never really been a big drinker, so she's okay with that. She's got used to it, where she's like, but you are sober. You've been sober 5 years, and you say that you're social, and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? It's just big groups of people. I'm like, not really bothered about it, and I'm okay with that. That's the thing. Like, I wouldn't call myself antisocial, but I'm okay with that. But I love having like one-on-one with friends, going out for coffee and just having a good old, like getting right into it. That's
Same.
that's what I love doing because it's
Same.
meaningful. It has connection, and yeah, yeah,
Yeah. No, same. I don't love big groups. I don't love, um, I can get super overstimulated really fast and
yeah.
it's just not fun.
And I think a lot of people are the same, but because they're using alcohol, they're okay.
100%. That's why
Mhm.
people drink so much in
Yeah.
social situations because it is overstimulating. It's not something that you may naturally like. And so alcohol does a great job of making it comfortable.
Yeah.
But then you remove that and you're like, ugh, this
Yeah,
is
where's my
ugh.
super force field gone? I'm open. Like, I was listening to a guy in a podcast the other day, and he still goes out with friends and that, but he's like, if he's out past 12, it's a weird one for him. And he says, well, like walking back through the city, he said, it's weird. I'm out of my comfort zone. He said it's like a hellscape out there because there's people walking into doors and falling over. And he's like, it's just like when you're a sober person, you are not frightened, but you're just like, man, this is madness. And it's,
Yeah. Well,
but
it's
when you're
louder.
in it,
It's like
louder.
sort of violent feeling. It's like
Yeah.
there's just a good way of
Just
putting
like
it
that
is
underlying tension that it could kick off at any time. And you're like if we
yes.
go out for dinner in the city, we're like, right, we'll have our dinner quite early and then we'll head out of there because, Isle of Man's a fairly safe place, but you still see a lot of drunken people wandering down the street. And me being from Glasgow, I'm like, yeah, this could kick off at any time. I'm always got my kind of my ear to the ground kind of thing. So yeah. What surprised you most about sober life, Laura?
Oh man. That's a great question. Just how much was there? I really, really thought that there's a story I tell in my first book about this woman who became my sponsor, actually, and she was one of the first women I met in AA. And she took me to my first dinner sober, like where I didn't drink. We went to a restaurant in Boston and I was absolutely crawling out of my skin. Hadn't not drank at a restaurant for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it felt awful and I wanted to leave. And I just was marveling that she was like enjoying her food and like she was in her body and
she was at ease. Yeah.
At ease and not, I was vibrating like on the ceiling. I just was not okay. And, I asked her at the end of dinner, I said, so is it better? Like, are you happy? And she put her hand on her phone and she said, I have like 15 people in here that I talk to almost every day that are like dear friends. And she said, it's a nice little life. And I remember hearing that at the time. I heard it and I thought, I don't want a nice little life. I thought she was saying like sober life was small.
Yeah. Like this'll do, I'm settling type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I came to understand exactly what she meant. And it was that she had peace and she could fall asleep at night and feel good about herself. And she was a dignified woman and she was able to show up for people and her inner world was massive and she was traveling. There was nothing small about her life. It was simple though. And my life is simple now, but it's so much bigger than I ever was drinking. Yeah. Drinking is a small life. It's a teeny tiny postage stamp size life.
Yeah. Well, it's like what you said earlier, like it's all consuming. So our life revolves around those bottles or glasses. That's it. So it's the kind of radius of that, the circumference of that, the orbit of that is tiny. Yeah.
Tiny.
Whereas you take that out and your orbit goes massive.
Yeah. And I didn't expect that. That's a surprising thing for sure. I was convinced that everyone that was sober had just sort of accepted it as their plight and they were finding a way. They deluded themselves into believing that it was enough, but it wasn't really enough.
I love that because so many people, I don't get it so much now, but back in the beginning when I guess people know more about sobriety and recovery now because there are so many people like yourselves speaking about it online and celebrities coming out about it, so people know more. But back 5.5 years ago, people were a bit more like, so are you going to do this forever, or do you miss it, and all of these things? And I was kind of like, I was learning how to answer them, because I was like, no, I'm okay with this, and actually my life is so much better without it. I wasn't kind of saying, and your life could be too, I wasn't saying that, but it was like, I just was like, I'm okay with this, because, and it's not that I'm just okay, it's like I am great without
I'm
that.
deeply okay.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
life is like unfathomably better. And
Yes.
but like, because they're in it, and I'm not saying they're alcoholics or whatever, but because they're still in that lie of the drinking thing is great, it's like they're hearing my words, but they're not going in. They're not going in yet. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
They're still thinking, yeah, I bet he wishes he could have a drink. I'm like, I'm
You
really not.
can't know. You just can't know. It's like being a parent. You cannot possibly know what it's like without experiencing it. You can't
Yeah,
know what's
yeah,
being sober is like until you've experienced it. It's something you can read about, you can hear about it, you can try to imagine it, but you don't have a visceral experience of it.
yeah.
How would you know?
Well, exactly. I'm like, it's like taking the red pill in the Matrix. You start
Yeah.
to see for what it's really like, and you don't have to be, full blown alcoholic or rock bottom or even grey area drinker to feel the benefits. Like someone that's just drinking recreationally every now and then goes sober, and there's just like, I don't even think about it anymore, and it's a great feeling. I can drive everywhere. I can do this, and yeah, and
You
it's
do
like.
anything, go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So, what role do you think that alcohol still plays in society?
Mm. Interesting. Wow, there's a lot of different ways to answer that.
Mm,
I don't think that alcohol is like a demonic force.
mhm,
Um, I think it has a place. I don't think the place that it has is nearly as prominent as parts of culture would like it to be or think that it is.
mhm,
Um, I mean, the word that keeps coming up into my mind is dark matter. Like everything has like we don't there's positive and negative, there's dark and light, and dark doesn't necessarily mean bad. It's just
sure.
contrast, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um I don't know that any drug or is inherently bad. It's what we use it for,
Mhm,
what it comes to mean to us. I think that in theory there are parts of alcohol and using it that are I don't even know if I believe this as I'm saying it. I was going to say that they're relatively benign, but people who use it that way, I think that's a very tiny percentage.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know that I have a great answer to that. I'm not like an abolitionist. I don't think it's again like a demonic force. I don't really care about it. I'm like I think we're on our way to seeing that it doesn't matter as much
Mhm,
as we would have thought. I also think like for me, alcohol was a friend.
mhm,
It saved me.
yeah,
It saved me from things that I was not ready to feel, that I couldn't have dealt with. It did give me a lot. It took a
mhm,
lot, but it gave me a lot too. And
yeah,
so I don't even like hate it. I don't hate that I drank. I don't regret any of that. I
mhm,
don't regret 15 years of going down that. Um, so I think in that sense, it also serves a role
yeah,
as
yeah,
like a dark teacher. You know what I mean?
yeah. And
Um,
it is that. like until it becomes a tool, and I guess it's a tool for confidence at the beginning, but like when we're young and we're going to parties and things like that, it's really hard to do that unless there's like these few minority people that can just go to a party and they're, you know, outgoing and full of joy and they're funny without alcohol. There's very few of them. Majority of us need a little bit of a boost and a bit of Dutch courage and all that. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's, you know, as I said at the beginning, I don't have any regrets, but it's when it becomes that slippery slope, you know.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like I don't hate alcohol. What I hate is how it's glamorized,
Yeah.
and the big alcohol is basically lying to people. Like Annie Gray says in her book that she was going to leave out a chapter about I think like the, you know, the health benefits, but there's no health benefits and all of that kind of stuff, but she did like a kind of pre edit kind of review and she got people to read it, and then like a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people were with that chapter was in, I think I'm messing this up, but basically a lot of people, like 90% of the readers came back on the test readers and said we had no idea how bad alcohol was.
Right.
Like we have no idea because all it says in the bottles is drink responsibly. This
Right.
is how many units you're meant to have a week, which is still a complete lie, whatever they're telling us. And that's the thing that I think annoys me about it. It's not the alcohol itself, because people can crack on and do what they want. But when they're not informed, that's when I get annoyed, because I'm like, they're out there doing it. Cigarettes, people know it's bad for you. And if you smoke, that's on you. Of course it is.
Yeah.
You know, you see the pictures on the packets. But with alcohol, they're still glamorizing it and making it into this, like, you know, beautiful, sophisticated thing. Like what we're saying about expensive bottles of whiskey and all that. It's this class thing. It's this societal thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not telling people how bad it is for you. Like I
I
think
know.
things are changing.
Yeah, the things are changing for sure, but we were duped. I mean, completely duped, bought and sold for 40 years.
Yeah.
Just like cigarettes were for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it is changing. I think that people are way more aware because the literature has come out, you know, there was the huge study that came out in 2016 that finally said there's no safe amount of alcohol. There's, you know, they changed the guidelines here in the States. I don't know what they're doing over there, but it's changing. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, I get annoyed with that too. And I used to get for many, many years, I was extremely worked up and constantly pushing against that in a very a public vocal way. I don't know that I have the steam for it anymore, but I feel it, and I feel it for
Yeah.
like I get it. I get that, and it's true. We were totally duped. I think there was something I wanted to add on to what you said. I probably lost it.
I mean, I
I
think
hate when that happens.
while you think there, I think that I've heard a lot of people that are different stages of sobriety and they go through these different phases and things. And I'm totally in that phase of like, as I said, I'm not hating on people that drink or alcohol itself, but I'm like, just inform people. Like all I'm asking is put labels on the bottles to say, like, there is no safe level of this. It does cause, you know, 7 types of cancer. It was categorized as a class A carcinogen in 1988. Like all of those things, put
Yeah.
them on the bottles and be done with it. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not, people are not going to struggle. Like if the governments are worried that they're going to lose a load of money, even though they're in a deficit for how much it costs to get people into in hospitals, because the government pay for that over here in the health service. But if it's not going to happen overnight. Not everyone's suddenly going to wake up one morning with a label in the bottle and go, well, I'm not going to drink tonight. Of course they're still going to drink, but it will. Like, I think I looked at a study the other day, and in 2010, that was when they started putting the pictures on packets of cigarettes,
Mm-hmm.
and they've seen a decrease of, I think, 20%. And that's in
Mm-hmm.
16 years, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not happened overnight. People are still smoking away. They still love it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't stop when they put the labels on, but I have stopped now. So, you know.
Yeah, it's a slow turn for sure, and I think
Mm.
I actually have no doubt that we're going to get there with
Yeah.
alcohol. I think that's just the way it's going to go, and that's because people like you and the people at those phases in their sobriety are incensed to talk about it, and they're mad,
Yeah.
rightfully so, and they're frustrated and they're sad and they've got the fire for it because it fucks you up. It fucks people's lives up, and you see it every day.
Yeah. And I've got the energy because I'm sober to do it, the sober,
right.
energy and the creativity. Do you think there's any conversations that we should be having that we're not having yet, or?
I think there are a lot of conversations happening, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So I can't necessarily think of one that's not being had. One I would have said a while ago, one that wasn't being had, like when I was getting sober, is women and alcohol, motherhood and alcohol. That has changed. So I'm really glad that conversation is happening. And, there's an insane that the non-alcoholic beverage industry is like blows my mind. Like,
oh God, yeah.
You can go anywhere now, pretty much. You could not drink at an occasion and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
That's
nobody questions
wild.
it.
No, you could just, I don't feel like
it.
drinking tonight, or whatever the thing is. That was not how it was 10 years ago. So that is huge. Like, that shows me massive, massive change can happen in a decade. And that gives me hope.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's just a testament to, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I didn't drink alcohol-free stuff for the first year because when I was in rehab, they said we don't advise it. And I was like, I'll stick to that. Yeah. And then I did start trying like Guinness Zero's, lovely. But then I'm like, because I'm still in that phase of like, big alcohol. Yeah. So I don't want to give them money. So I'm like, you know what? I'd rather have a fruit juice and all that. But I'm okay with that. But I also think that if people are out and they're still in that awkward phase where they're like, they want to have a nice glass. So if they've got an alcohol-free beer, that's in a bottle, that's perfectly good, Or
just normalizing not drinking alcohol. That's what I see as the major shift. Yeah. It's just as viable as a choice as drinking, and you have options, and you don't have to have this awkward conversation about I'm not drinking tonight, because more people are doing it. Yeah. I can't tell you how many of my friends have just either cut down or they just don't do it, and they never had a problem. Mm-hmm. Not like me. They're like, it's not working for me anymore. I'm,
hangovers are getting really,
I'm
really
50
ugly.
years old and I don't fucking want to feel that way anymore. Yeah. But so it gives you something to hold in your hand that is good and that feels like you're still part of. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. That shift is huge.
So huge. And I still sometimes every now and then want someone to say to me, "Oh, you're not having an alcoholic drink. Why not?" Because I've got it ready for them. But
ready to go.
They don't ask me that, and I'm like,
no. The number of times I've been asked that is so tiny compared to the amount that I expected to be asked.
Yeah. But it's, as you say, it's the shift. And like, I'm still looking forward to getting pulled over by the police to get breathalyzed. That's not happened. Like,
I've been pulled over. It's quite exciting.
Yeah. Have you been drinking today, sir? No, I haven't drank for 5.5 years. Like,
come at me.
Come at me. Yeah. Laura, do you regret getting sober?
No.
Not a chance. Not a chance. One piece of advice for someone at day one.
Keep it so simple.
Yeah.
Like, you have one job today. It's just to not drink. Do whatever else you need to do to make that happen.
Absolutely. Brilliant. One habit that keeps you steady?
I
mean, you're probably fine now. You're 11 years.
Moving my body.
Moving your body, yeah.
I'm not a well person without that.
Yeah. It's got to be done, though. That's the thing, that's one of those things that people in the beginning, like, if they're having a craving, go move.
Go walk,
yeah. Prove to your body that you're still alive and that you don't need that. Go for a walk. Don't walk past the liquor store. You'll be okay.
Right.
Yeah. A podcast, a film, or a book about recovery or hope. But I'll put your 2 books in the show notes as well. So something other than
podcast. That's tough because I don't listen to a lot of recovery podcasts. I know a good one. Okay. Just for like beautiful, inspirational, lovely conversation. John O'Donohue on On Being podcast with Krista Tippett. Look it up. It's one of my, I listen to it every year at the beginning of the year. It's, I think it's called it's something about beauty is in the title.
Okay.
If you search it, you'll find it. It's one of my favorite conversations. Podcast movie.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be about recovery?
No, just something that's like I said, or hope as well. So something that's just beautiful. That's
okay,
kind of
something that one of the most beautiful films that I've ever seen, and it's recent, and it changed me. Is called Sentimental Value. It's a Norwegian film, really extraordinary, and it is hopeful.
Yeah.
And then book. Oh man,
so many.
So many. But this is a great question. Let me think. I will go with a recovery book.
Mm-hmm.
I just read it again recently. My favorite recovery book is Drinking a Love Story by Carolyn Knapp. She documents the internal emotional experience of addiction and sobriety better than anyone I've ever read.
Yeah. It's a great book. Yeah. I love it. Great. Yeah. And lastly, Laura, one word that describes your life now.
The word that came to mind was everything. Like it gets to be everything all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just everything. It's not limited anymore.
Yeah.
That means the bad stuff too, or the painful stuff too, but I want that.
Yeah. Like people said to me at the beginning, like, what are you going to do now you don't drink? And I'm like, everything else. I haven't done everything else yet, but I've done a lot, a lot more than I did when I was, steadfast to the bottle. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. Laura, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, chatting with you, like two old Celtic warriors, Celtic. And I don't mean old. I mean as an old in the Celtic vibe is old.
Hey,
sober warriors. Yeah,
I'm certainly not young, so I'll take it.
Yeah, well, you're looking.
Thank
amazing,
you so much.
Thank you.
That was really fun.
Cool. Catch you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Laura. An absolute pleasure having you on the podcast and just hearing your story. I know it's going to help a lot of people. I guess one of my takes from this episode was that both Laura and I knew we liked to drink and we were probably drinking more than we should, but where was the harm? What was it doing? We had no idea the dangers medically that it might have been causing us. And even if we were just functioning, it's not about that. It's about the potential that we were missing out, the squandering of our potential that, by just functioning, what were we missing out on in life, And, like, look at what Laura's doing. She's an author, she's an absolute pioneer in the sober community and following her dream now, because she always wanted to be a writer. And now she's doing that through not just being a functioning addict, and that's what it is. So we need to be surpassing our goals and making the best of our life, that we're, and living in alcohol is just holding us back no matter who you are. Trust me, it's just not, it's not bringing you any joy. It's not bringing you any groundbreaking, goal-breaking aspects to your life. So that was my kind of main take from it. Laura's just got a great story, and as I say, she's doing so amazing things. She's got that, she set up a group in 2020. She founded the Luckiest Club. So, all of these things I'll put in the show notes. So just keep an eye out for that. And thanks again for listening to today's episode, guys. All going well here. Sober Seasons is going strong. So if you do want to give up for 90 days, then, find us on Facebook. It's just called Sober Seasons, and it's a private group with some amazing support. So yeah, go and give us a hit up there. And guys, just hit the 5-star review. Really kind of pushing this out there because, I want a lot of people to listen to the podcast, because these stories are real, they're raw, there's no fluff, and I just think that they're going to be helping people. So if you put, 5-star review, put a comment, it's just going to help more people find the podcast and get us out there. So please do that, guys. Until next week, stay safe, stay sober, and stay supportive. Thanks again to Laura, and love you all, guys. Peace.